So I'll introduce the speakers. With us today, Karsten Vollmer. He's a partner of Foster & Partners, heading up the practice presence in this region, Southeast Asia. So since 2000, he has actually been involved in several very high-profile projects, and of which he will share a few today, some of his case studies. So we'll be talking about architecture from a commercial perspective, from a large-scale level of urban design and also building design, and how that contributes to placemaking. And oftentimes when we talk about placemaking, we think about just maybe community centers or smaller scale community sort of like spaces. So he will be talking about how Foster & Partners approach into placemaking and this exercise.
Z just gave me 15 minutes, so I better hurry. Starting with, our first high-rise project in the world, the Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank in Hong Kong, which has very much become synonymous with Hong Kong itself. It's really become part of the identity of Hong Kong and of Hong Kong as a place. This is something we managed to do on a good number of our projects, really give an identity to an organization, to a community, to a city even. In this case, we've been particularly fortunate. It's become so much part of the identity of Hong Kong that it's actually made it onto the Hong Kong dollar bills and money having a very significant it's very significant in Chinese culture, and therefore, this even further reinforces the identity that we've been provided, or that we provided. On a totally different level, though, this is the entrance space, or the plaza underneath the Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank. So the actual entrance lobby is a level above this public plaza, and this is the way we've envisaged it. Making this a public space. On a regular day, you see it like this. A few people going up and down, going into the bank building. However, on weekends, you see this sort of thing happening, which is absolutely phenomenal, and we are flabbergasted and really chuffed, and it shows what some spaces can do. People really embrace our buildings, and the way they embrace it is immensely gratifying. Very lively. People bring their own furniture. They bring, sofas, coffee tables, bookshelves. They also do a bit of tenting there. So what this made us think is this space must have a very unique kind of quality that really people embrace. And part of that, we believe, has got to do with the fact that it's very shaded. Hong Kong being, a relatively hot and humid climate, yet you do allow a bit of cross-ventilation. You do curb it to a certain extent, but you do allow cross-ventilation through the space, and that's why it's become so incredibly popular. And that's something that's really informed our work in later years as well. In a different part of the world, we came up with this particular building, and the form and shape have come about as the result of a form-finding process. It's a very distinctive building, which again has managed to give the City of London an identity, or added to the identity of the City of London. Everyone who sees this building immediately knows it's in London, in the City of London. But the form and shape has also come about, and this is only part of the story, but it's a part worth telling in the context of this particular series of talks, because we had to argue with the authorities about whether to have another high-rise building in the City of London at the time. This is the late 90s. A lot of people were opposed to that. One of the things that we argued with were giving London additional public space, giving something back to the City of London. And once the building was completed, it really has become a very, very popular spot within London, with Londoners, also with visitors. In, summer evenings, pleasant summer evenings are not very, very frequent in London, unfortunately. But during the week, once city workers, as we call them, come out of their offices, this has become immensely popular a space. And it's, not just a building next to it that Londoners identify with. It's a space that Londoners really have embraced, which is, again, something that we, as architects, having contributed to that, find enormously gratifying. There are other levels of meaning that you can add to places, if you like. People have a deep-rooted desire to link with the past, and this here I find immensely charming and moving. During the excavations that preceded the construction on site for Swiss Re, archaeologists found the remains of a teenage girl who lived during Roman times between 300 and 400 AD. They exhumed her body, put it into the Museum of London for a certain amount of time, and then reburied her once the building here in the back was complete. And this was a ceremony. This here is the Lord Mayor of London, not the Mayor of London, the Lord Mayor of London with a priest, the wife of the Lord Mayor, and they performed the ceremony reburying the little girl right next to the building where she was found in the first place. And you see, to the spirits of the dead, the unknown young girl from Roman London lies buried here. Now, this particular girl would not have spoken English. She would only have understood Latin, and we've got the same inscription there in Latin as well. What is immensely important from our point of view to come up with and produce high-quality public spaces is making them work for pedestrians, but also making them work in terms of letting people, giving them an opportunity to rest on occasion. And stairs and seating places are immensely important. This here is our master plan for more London. You see the Tower Bridge in the background here London City Hall. And let them have a view and a rest. Plus, obviously, give them space to walk. And then a connection to elements is something that really works with humans. It's almost primal, if you like. This little chap here can't touch, unfortunately. His mother doesn't let him, but some people may, and some people dive right in. So connection to the elements, but also the connection to nature is something that really adds to a place tremendously if you get it right. This here being obviously UTP, University Technology Petronas. And the design is really based on very simple principles. You give people shelter from the torrential tropical rain, number one. You give them shelter from direct sunlight, still maintaining a certain amount of light that filters through. And then connect to nature. That's really, in essence, the idea behind the scheme for UTP. Give them space, again, to rest, to meet people on a casual basis, let them do their homework, let them flirt, and let them, meet, impromptu. Let them have a conversation. There's pedestrian movement areas for that, seating, which is kind of integrated. These kind of spaces here, for a university, the social spaces, in our view, are more important than the laboratory buildings or the teaching facilities or the library or the auditorium, which is right next to it. This is actually where we believe innovation takes place, where people actually meet, where cross-fertilization between different disciplines actually takes place. And this is not just valid for a university like this one, it's also valid for office buildings, bank organizations. We've got these social spaces also integrated into HSBC or into Commerzbank, which is a model you can see right down there. It's immensely important from our point of view, and it's really what is adding value to whatever people are doing here. Just to reinforce the point. Another image, go on. Then talking about, well, urban spaces and interventions we've done in the past. Giving pedestrian space is from our point of view, absolutely key. This is what Trafalgar Square looked like not too many years ago. It was essentially a traffic island, which very few people actually went to see, well, Nelson's column from the base. A few tourists eventually ventured out there. Londoners never would. And this is after our, well, almost minimal intervention. We cut out the traffic, essentially pedestrianizing the zone between the National Gallery and the island. And we introduced a stair here, 2 lifts, a couple of toilets. That was it. We almost did nothing. What really was hard work, though, was convincing the authorities that this sort of intervention would not cause traffic collapse. So we did a lot of research. We looked at pedestrian flow, we looked at traffic flow, eventually saying it has only minimal impact. In fact, we now know it doesn't have any. In fact, we now know the less space you give traffic, the more it will disperse, in actual fact. But we did a lot of research on this, which eventually also informed work that we were to do then in the future. It works perfectly, and it's really giving space back to people. Again, giving them space to walk, giving them space to rest, giving them space for entertainment. It really lifts the spirit, and it is a very well-working space, public space in London, and is part of London's identity now more than it's ever been. Moving to another part of the world, this is Abu Dhabi, the first zero-carbon, zero-waste city in the world. That's the plan anyway, the great ambition, the vision. What we've completed this far is what you see here, the core, if you like, the university, the Mazda Institute, which focuses on research into sustainable strategies and technologies. And for us, a university, and the same actually goes for Petronas University, a university is a catalyst for economic growth. And that's why we arrange around the university technology parks and a special economic zone to facilitate startups, which then feed into the wider economy. So that's very important and a key kind of concept behind Mazda. But then Mazda as a city is very much derived from the walled city, other human settlements in the region. Shibam in Yemen being an example, and looking at street configurations, orientation, proportion of streets and public space, and they're very much designed in such a way that the building mass and orientation generates self-shading, comes up with cool spaces, and we've done a lot of research into that, and it's not just the density and leaving very little light that actually comes through, which in that part of the world is already enough. It's also about, well, looking at different surfaces, looking at materials and how they retain or disperse heat. And that probably fills several lectures, actually. But it's about generating comfort, a comfortable microclimate for people to walk in outside. That's absolutely essential. And these are the spaces we eventually completed. Again, not just walkable, but there are places to rest, to sit, to converse, and it's incredibly popular. One other thing, I talked about rooting in the past, into history. Our schemes are always a response to a context, and that may be an environmental context, it may be also a historical or cultural context. This here is a reinterpretation of a Moshrabiyah wall or screens, and we reinterpreted them in a modern way, if you like. This is glass reinforced concrete, using the sand that's actually there in that place, and that's what gives you the color. Other spaces, West Kowloon Cultural District, master plan that we've won 3 times, last time in 2011. Again, looking at climate, looking at comfort of people, looking at cultural references, which, in some instances achieved that already. And looking at, well, streetscape in modern Hong Kong, analyzing that, taking all of that together, traffic, disengaging pedestrians from traffic, yet getting people to access it very quickly is very important to us in order to make it comfortable. This here causes a lot of discomfort. And putting it all together as part and parcel of the master plan. and then getting the authorities to accept a public park as an amenity, which is very, very difficult in Hong Kong because this could also be seen as prime development land. Views, very important to a place and giving an identity or referencing the public space to an already existing identity. Swinging back to Southeast Asia, to Singapore, this is our scheme for South Beach. This here's the Raffles Hotel. This here is Memorial Square. It's all about Singapore and the Garden City, but this very expressive roof structure is the result of a form-finding process that has got the comfort of human beings, of pedestrians in mind. It's formed and shaped so that it scoops the moving air down to pedestrian level. As long as you've got 0.6 meters per second air movement, you're relatively comfortable, provided you're not dressed in a suit with a tie, which would be for this sort of climate outside just inappropriate. And these are the kind of spaces we envisage. Again, it's about keeping the rain out, sheltering people from direct light and from the tropical torrential rain, and moving air, facilitating air movement, making them comfortable spaces for people to walk in. And then, in some instances, referencing the spaces back to historical structures. Now, these are not 1,600 years old. They're maybe 100 years old or a bit more. But still, it responds to the deep-rooted human desire and need to have a reference to the past. And then these two old, given a new lease of life with the new together, that's what we as architects find very rewarding when it works. And that's it from me.